Hi friends, I think we all get in the same boat a bit in the late summer to autumn, where the garden gets very wild and we're struggling to get through the pathways. Hi there, friend. So as usual each year, I have let things go completely wild in some parts of my vegetable patches. And this is partly always to do with the really hot weather that we get. And I just can't be out here in that heat. But also, of course, it has to do with the busyness of our life here. We've had quite a few things happening on the farm, which I will be sharing soon in another video. But it means that I haven't gotten around to filming a garden tour this month. I've got the bees buzzing around my head, so I apologise for that. Sometimes I just miss a month here and there, but I will be sharing my garden with you in March. But I thought I'd take this little moment to share with you what's been happening on our little farm here in central Victoria, Australia. We recently had some cooler weather, which was fantastic, a bit of a breather for us and also for the garden. And the nights were really, really cold, but the plants are doing fine. And now we're getting some heat again. Today's going to be 36. So I'm out here picking tomatoes before it gets too hot. But that sun already has quite a kick to it. One of the things that's been in construction on our property of late is one of our dams. And we're really excited about it because it's never really been a proper dam. When we purchased this land, we had 2 dams, and we've still got 2 dams. We've pumped all of the water from one dam to the other so we can work on it. And as I said before, I will share this with you in another video soon. As you can see, I'm picking lots and lots of cherry tomatoes. We're getting so many from these plants that came up all by themselves from last year's tomatoes. And in some areas, I've been really good at trying to keep them up on the Rio, but they have rambled into the pathway in some of the areas of my garden. It's hard not to step on them as well when they get into the pathway. One thing I love to make with cherry tomatoes is a focaccia, which I chop the cherry tomatoes in half and decorate the focaccia bread with the cherry tomatoes. I sprinkle salt on top and also some thyme, lots of thyme, or any other herb, maybe basil too. Basil's a nice one to add to it. And it just goes down so well in our family. My kids love it. They associate summer with the tomato focaccia. I could literally be here for ages picking these cherry tomatoes. I'm trying to take the little stem part off them as I pick them and just drop it on the ground. So I'm doing this because I'm just going to wash these and I'm going to process them with some of my sourcing tomatoes that I have and put them in some bottles and water bath them. And I've been doing a batch of these once every week, I'd say, at the moment. I'm filling up quite large bottles of them because I'm running out of small bottles. I can hear my dogs digging in the soil. So I have noticed there's a few mouse homes in my garden, which also happens at this time of the year. Ooh, the breeze is picking up. And of course my dogs then go digging in the garden as well. Jack Russells. They are built to hunt for rodents. The sun has just gone behind the clouds, so that's nice. A bit of a break from that very bright sunshine. So behind me there are some pumpkins growing, and I'm really, really happy, excited and thrilled to have pumpkins growing in my garden. I've really struggled with growing pumpkins out here. In Melbourne, they were really easy to grow. We grew at least 170 kilos of pumpkins on our suburban block. But here, it's just been really difficult. And I think one of the reasons it's been difficult is because I've always tried to grow the pumpkins away from everything else. And they've really suffered in the sunshine, in the heat that we get here. And then I end up with really small pumpkins, or maybe, one or two only. And this year we've got quite a few, not as many as I, was hoping, but I will take about a dozen pumpkins over one or two piddly ones. This patch of tomatoes here is so thick, it's not really ideal. It's really hard to find the tomatoes. You have to sort of pry the plant open to get to all the ripe ones inside. And a lot of them are overripe because I haven't been able to get to them. So not really ideal, but this is how I've, treated my self-sown ones. I haven't really been pruning them. And yeah, just a reminder for next year to either prune them or pull out some of the plants when they come up, really, and try and have some space between the plants. So I have actually pulled out some cherry tomato plants because there are just so many of them, and they were kind of in the way. They were growing next to some potatoes that I was harvesting, so I just pulled them out. And it's unfortunate. I could pick off all the green ones and make some green tomato chutney, so I might do that this weekend. The bees are buzzing all around the beautiful sunflowers, and most of them are dying back now. There's one right near the camera that is setting its seed because the bees have been all over them. I really have enjoyed this little late patch of sunflowers that I planted. I did another late patch, but they never came up. I think one might have come up. I actually have a sunflower that's come up from the chicken seed that I picked up with the manure from the chicken coop. And it's growing really strong, and it's such a late sunflower that it surprised me how amazing it is. I've also got some corn growing from the chicken seed as well. I'm not sure how well that will go. So I struggled with the corn with one of the varieties. They didn't set very well. It was very sporadic. So we just ate the little kernels off the cob straight from the plant and had a little treat. But honestly, there were like 20 kernels for one cob of corn. So not ideal, but as I said in an earlier video, I really enjoyed the greenness of the corn growing, and I was quite happy with just loving the greenness of it. Oh my gosh, you spread the plant and there are even more and more tomatoes. So this garden is truly growing very wild. I've got some grasses growing, or this could possibly be like wheat or something from the chicken seed that I've, picked up with the manure. And I've just accidentally broken off the tendril from one of the pumpkin plants. But everything's growing here. We've got sunflowers, we've got the pumpkins growing in through the sunflowers, and then we've got all these cherry tomatoes growing among it all as well. There's some more grass growing in the garden. One corn plant that did quite well is a green one, which is generally used for making flour. So what I'm doing is drying out the cobs, and then, yeah, we'll give a go making some flour of our own. But they set really nicely, and I'm really pleased with getting some results from the corn. One of my dogs, so I've got 2 Jack Russells, and one of them, Luna, she's got ladybirds crawling all over her as they fossick in the garden. So here's a few pumpkins growing here. They're lovely. I'm not sure what varieties my pumpkins are. When I harvest them, I will know what they are. It's just I can't tell you right now what the varieties are because I don't have my notebook with me, and I planted quite a few varieties, and some of them have worked out and some of them haven't, so we shall see. But I think the ones here are self-sown as well, so who knows what they are. I need to attach this up onto, actually I've got some, see, this is what Jack Russells do. They dig. What are you hunting for? Hey? What are you hunting for? You're digging up all of my dandelions. At least it's not potatoes. I think the biggest threat to my garden at the moment are my 2-year-old Jack Russells. There's so much of this grass growing in one of my patches. I'm not sure what sort of grass it is, but there's a lot of it. I'm hand watering at the moment, which is really challenging in a garden of this size, especially out the front as well. But because of the work that's happening down at the dams, yeah, we just can't pump as often as we usually do. It is nice to come out here and hand water, but I do worry that the plants aren't getting as much water as they would normally with the drippers. However, I feel like the garden is greener when it's getting a bit of a spray, just sort of imitating if it was going to rain. So yeah, there's perks to it, but oh, something's eaten into this tomato. I'm finding a few tomatoes being eaten into. I'm going to open it up and have a look. There's nothing inside there at the moment, so it must have been some caterpillar or critter or something, and they've eaten what they want and they've disappeared. I feel like I should harvest this one because it's starting to crack. These ones have quite a lot of, sores on the skin. We'll call them sores. But there are so many to come. Look at this one though. Look at that. If anyone knows why this happens, please let me know. I'm wondering whether it's because it's rubbing up against the Rio, but this one's not anywhere near the Rio. Yeah, I don't know. Should we take this one off and let it ripen inside? It doesn't want to come off. I'll have to get the clippers and clip it off. Oh, there we go. So this is this tomato here. At the end of the video, I shall take it inside and cut it open, and we'll see what it looks like inside. Look, there's more. There's so many of them. Well, that is the prize tomato of the day. Oh, my hat just blew off. The wind is lovely, but it's really hard when you're wearing hats. I need to make myself a really sturdy brimmed hat because I just can't do without a hat. But I just wanted to mention at the end of this video, I'm sure most of you can relate, but my kids often comment after I have harvested lots and lots of tomatoes that the soap that we use to wash our hands is really yellow. All of that yellowness that comes from the leaves and the tomatoes when you're picking tomatoes. They can definitely tell when there's a new batch of tomatoes come into the kitchen. Well, my friends, I'm being asked to go and help down at the dams. So I'm going to go and get really muddy down there. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.